Yes, it's me, Daddy Dragon, otherwise known as Graham Moore, live from my studio in Devon. I am going to do what I would describe as an important, because this is part of the book, and it's also going to be part of the legal challenges in the future where you start to claim your right. So I'm going to go through a readout, but before I do, I'm going to show a few people. And then after that, briefly, I'm going to touch on what the White House sent out yesterday. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will show you in a couple of minutes. They basically said, this from the White House, that the COVID came from a lab leak in Wuhan, China, and it was Anthony Fauci that was funding it, right? And that he has a pardon. So what they're trying to encourage him to do is to tell the truth, right? Because what they're saying is, remember what I said about the airline industry? If something serious goes on and there's a serious problem with a plane crash, everyone's told there's no blame to this. Just tell us exactly what's gone on, or what you think may have gone on, or how this could have happened. Express it. We'll investigate it, etc. So I don't want everyone to understand that. Don't forget to hit the like button. It's crucially important. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. And don't forget, I am a registered paralegal, right? My specialisation is the Constitution of England and the common law rights of the English, the constitutional rights of the English, and presenting it as a subject of the realm, not as a crown servant, not as representing a state, but as the Constitution tells you, right? And I want everyone to understand this. As the Constitution tells you, there is a separation, and the Constitution tells the state how it operates and what the subject, how the subjects operate, and what the powers of the state in relation to the subjects, etc. So it's really, it is probably the most important subject, and it has been removed from all school curriculums. So what I'm going to do first, just to make sure, did anyone last night, I mentioned Anson, because I've done a readout and showed you some books and parts in the book, etc. It mentioned Anson, it mentioned Callum, which is this. A.V. Dicey had studied all of these elements, right? So I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that before I go on to the next element, because I'm about to show you. Let me see if I can pick it up. Hopefully it's come straight up on the screen, which it has. And there it is, The Law and Custom of the Constitution Anthem. There's 3 volumes of this. I have all 3 volumes, just to make sure you're aware. I never speak of anything or teach you anything unless I've read it, studied it, understand it, and then proceed to try and educate you of what it actually means, right? So it is The Law and Custom of the Constitution Anthem. This is Volume 1, Parliament. And again, you can see it's come from Oxford. As I open this up, you will see The Law and Custom of the Constitution yet again, right? So it's reading from this book. What I'm going to do now is show you exactly what it says, which is The Law and Custom of the Constitution. Sir William Anson, R. Anson, Bart, DCL, of the Inner Temple, Barrister at Law, Warden of All Souls College, Oxford. In 3 volumes. Volume 1, I've got all 3. It's the 4th edition. And then it tells you at the bottom there, Oxford at Clarendon Press, London, New York, and Toronto. Henry Froude, also sold by Stevenson Son, blah, blah, blah. And this was printed in 1909, right? So this is an original. This is partly what certain people, and I'm seeing a lot of it online at the moment, are trying to get rid of, because they don't want people to understand what this is. Now, I'm going to take you to a particular part of this Before I go on to the readout and show it to you on the screen, I want you to understand what I'm saying. This comes from this book. Let's see if I can get closer down to it and show you exactly what it is. I want you to understand what this says. The Crown is not sovereign, nor is either House of Parliament. So this is a constitutional expert who is telling you that Parliament is not sovereign, right? The House of Parliament, still less than the ministers or servants through whom the Crown conducts the executive business of government. But each of these stands in established relations to the other. So what we're saying is there is a separation of powers, but each of these stands in established relations to each other and to the general body of the citizens. And of these relations, some are fixed by law. I want you to understand what that says, fixed by law, right? And some, let me just make sure we've got this last bit right, and some by custom, right? So I want everyone to understand that before I go on to the next element. It is really important that you get this because I'm about to show you a couple of things. Now, again, English Constitution Party, we've obviously got a political party, but we're also a society. So anti-coercion, pro-choice, no false promises, rights of the people, supporting pensioners' rights, obey the Constitution of England, English Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And then we go through it and we tell you everything about a constitution in here. In that middle part tells you what the rights are, etc. And what we do now is show you either side where all these laws come in. Magna Carta, observance of due process, petition of right, declaration of rights, etc., which is the contract. Right. Nothing I've ever said to you is not taken directly from these old law books, including, just to make sure you're aware, that one there, which is volume 10, Constitutional Law, Halsby Statutes, right? And again, on this side, you've got these books, right? These older books here. And people must remember that they're the Halsby's Laws. So they're the two main books that I talked to you about our constitution from. And then I reference Callum, which A.V. Dicey did. Then I reference Anson. I also reference Sir William Wade, Sir John Laws, etc. Right? Hamlin lectures. So this video is extremely important because you should all be aware of, and I'm hoping I can bring it up on your screen, and I'm hoping it's going to come up. I am going to do a readout of what I have written today, which one should be taught to every child in England. Two, the expansion of this should be taught in every university in the land of England, right? To make sure that our lawyers, judges, solicitors, and barristers, etc., everybody understands exactly why we are governing the way we are. So what I'm about to do is read this out to you. Statement of fact and argument. Can everyone hear me clearly? You're hearing everything. I'm not talking to myself. You can all hear me. Give me a 5B5 in the chat. This is extremely important because people have asked me some questions and there's a lot of things going on with some cases in the United States of America where, again, I could show you another book on my bookshelf from Antonian Scalia, who was a Supreme Court Justice and who is originalist, right? Now, there's a specific reason why we're talking about that, and everyone needs to know exactly what's going on, right? So here goes. I'm going to start giving you this readout, and you should all understand what it means. This is going to be important in the future because this is part of your claim of right, and we, you, us, are going to be pushing this out to make sure that people understand that the English are not going to sit back anymore and accept all their rights being overridden by a British Parliament that has no right to do it, right? So a statement of fact and argument of the free subject of the English realm. I speak as a free subject of this realm, claiming the rights that the original law and contract itself declared to be mine. The common law of England has never admitted the Roman maxim of dursitude. To do so would be a subversion of the laws of England. Statutes and declared rights do not wither, lapse, or lose force through the mere passage of time, non-use, or contrary practice. Continuity is the very essence of the common law. What was law remains law until it is lawfully altered according to the forms that the law itself provides. This rejection of dursitude is the foundation upon which the ancient rights of the subject stand unbroken. Because dursitude has no place, the rights declared in the Act of 1689 remain of the same force and effect as the day that they was enacted. That act is titled An Act Declaring the Rights and Liberties of the Subject and Settling the Succession of the Crown. It declares the rights therein set forth to be the true, ancient, and indubitable rights and liberties of the people of this kingdom, and so shall be esteemed, allowed, adjudged, deemed, and taken to be. It commands that all and every the particulars aforesaid shall be firmly and strictly holden and observed as they are expressed in the said declaration, and all officers and ministers whatsoever shall serve their majesties and their successors according to the same in all time to come. And it enacts that the whole shall stand, remain, and be the law of this realm forever. The Act of Settlement of 1701, titled An Act for the Further Limitation of the Crown and Better Securing the Rights and Liberties of the Subject, confirms and ratifies the same. It states that the laws of England are the birthright of the people thereof, and all the kings and queens who shall ascend the throne of this realm ought to administer the government of the same according to the said laws, and all their officers and ministers ought to serve them respectively according to the same. The birthright of the people cannot be extinguished by the passage of years or by later instruction that pretends the opposite. Section 3 of the Bill of Rights provides that no charter or grant or pardon granted before the 23rd day of October in the year of our Lord 1689 shall be of any ways impeached or invalidated by this act, but that same shall be remain of the same force and effect in law. Magna Carta is such a charter. It declares that no free man shall be arrested, imprisoned, deceased, outlawed, exiled, or otherwise destroyed, nor proceeded against except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the laws of the land, and that to no one will right or justice be sold, refused, or delayed. This is the observance of the law of the land that remains law. It forms part of the birthright of the people and stands protected forever. Section 2 of the Bill of Rights enacts that no dispensation by non obstante of or to any statute or any part thereof shall be allowed, but the same shall be held void and of no effect. In legal order, that rejects desuetude. This clause confirms that the declared rights cannot be sidestepped by executive pretense or by any claim of obsolescence. What is void remains void. The coronation oath binds every king and queen to govern the people of this kingdom according to the statutes in Parliament agreed on the laws and customs of the same. The rights declared in 1689, the laws confirmed in 1701, and the ancient charters protected by Section 3 are among those statutes, laws, and customs. The oath, therefore, requires their observance. The Crown must either assent or refuse. It cannot abstain. Yet the original text forbid any assent that would set aside the rights that are to be firmly and strictly holden in all time to come and forever. To pretend that Parliament could enact a law that went against these undoubted rights is to deny the original contract between the Crown and the people, as recognised in the constitutional settlement itself. Any monarch who assented to such a law would thereby perjure the coronation oath and forfeit the crown. For the oath requires government according to the statutes, laws, and customs that include these perpetual rights. Any judge who ruled to the contrary would perjure their own oath to do justice according to the law and would fail to advise the king properly. Such councillors and judges would become the very essence of those condemned in the preamble to the Bill of Rights, the various evil councillors, judges, and ministers by whose assistance the late King James II did endeavour to subvert the laws and liberties of this kingdom. Asterisk, the original word was divers, which is archaic English and today means various or several. Taken together, these original texts produce a single unbroken conclusion. The rights of the subject are not temporary privileges that may be redefined, suspended, or allowed to fall into disuse. They are ancient, indubitable, and perpetual. They are the birthright of the people. They bind the crown, the officers, the ministers in all time to come, because the common law refuses the maxim of desuetude. No amount of later teaching, professional instruction, or state practice can lawfully erase them. Any claim that these rights have somehow become alterable or optional is a departure from the original settlement itself. I therefore claim and insist upon these rights as my birthright. They stand forever. They are to be firmly and strictly holden and observed by all who govern or serve under the crown. Any law, dispensation, or proceeding that stands outside of these protections is void and of no effect by the original force of the text themselves. The subjects of the realm stand upon the law as it was declared, strictly holden and secured forever. By using the words and phrasing forever, all time to come, and various sections forbidding change, the original contract expressed that certitude shall not have any effect on these laws or rights. In fact, a Scottish court that had acknowledged A.V. Dicey faults on this, the case of McCormick versus Lord Advocate 1953 SC 396. In the course of this case, the Lord Advocate conceded that the Parliament of the United Kingdom could not repeal or alter certain fundamental and essential conditions of the Treaty Acts of the Union 1707. By acknowledging that, they also acknowledge that the UK Parliament cannot alter any of the English constitutional rights, including the English Bill of Rights. It cannot change the claim of right, which is what the Scots possess. It cannot change any of our ancient laws and customs. It cannot erase them. And this is the point that I'm making to everyone. This is no longer taught in our schools. This is no longer taught in our universities of law, and it should be. Everything that I've just read out to you has as the law should be, right? So again, I'm just going to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to ask the audience, that's the readout. I'm going to ask the audience, do you understand what I just said? So you can take that, don't alter it, don't put it, because it's specific. It's a specific legal argument where you could take that to any court and say, that is my Bill of Rights, that is the Constitution of England, and the Crown itself, who you represent as a judge, as a magistrate, as a police constable, you took an oath to abide by that, right? Now, you need to expand upon that, and to do that, I can expand on some of this. For example, if they believe that they can change any of our constitution and constitutional rights and common law rights, according to the Bill of Rights, it would go against Article 1 and Article 2, which is the pretended right to change our laws at will. They can't do it. One of the reasons they can't do it is because the Crown would not assent to it. And if the Crown has assented to it, it is for one of two reasons. Either they have been counselled by evil judges and evil counsellors, and what I mean by that is privy counsellors, so people in the Privy Council, the ones that they call right honourable, right? Not just honourable gentleman or honourable lady, but right honourable. That means they're privy councillors, right? People need to understand that them people are misrepresenting the law to the Crown, or the Crown is complicit. In other words, the Crown knows exactly what they're doing. It is my opinion that the Crown knows exactly what they're doing, because this Crown has done two things. One, he's made a statement that he is the protector of all faiths. He is the protector of the gospel and the Protestant religion in England. That's his job, full stop. No other religion. Secondly, no one who is the Crown of England can be married to a papist or an ex-papist. In other words, you cannot be. No one can be a Roman Catholic and or even an ex-Roman Catholic and married to the King of England, right? So for me, in doing what they've done in the past, and there's much more evidence of this, then he is complicit. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's gone against the coronation oath, and he's done it deliberately. As such, the King of England has perjured his oath. By perjuring his oath, he has abdicated the throne. That was decided during the Convention Parliament of 1688. There's no ifs, no buts, etc. Everyone should understand exactly what's going on, right? Now, is everyone happy that I've read that out? There's a tweet out there that I've just put it out. I want to wait for more and more people to understand exactly what I've just said. But that is the detail, and that is one page of a legal argument that is soon to be being put. I won't say just yet, but it's going to be put, and there's other elements to that the Bill of Rights is being used. So I'm looking at the current arguments coming out there. Let's have a look. Is everyone happy with that? Juicy and Lucy. Hello, Juicy and Lucy. How you doing? Is everyone out there? Right. So one of the other things that I want to say to everyone, there's a number of cases going through the Supreme Court, and there's Jason, who's been really helpful, he's sending me different videos on the actual subjects that I'm looking for. I've downloaded some of the documentation and read through it. They are extremely important cases that I wouldn't have known about unless Jason had told me. It is being put to the Supreme Court, the originalist elements of the Constitution, and especially 1 through to 10, if you want to call it that, the original Bill of Rights and the Bill of Rights of England, which is ported directly over to the United States of America. Because when the United States of America became independent, part of the independence was that the British was trying to take their guns. It wasn't just over tea and tax. Right, they was trying to take their guns because as far as the British colonisers, because prior to that they were dominions of England, so they governed themselves and they had the same rights as an Englishman, right? The British came along and said, we want your guns. The Americans stood up, literally with the guns in their hands, and said, come and take them, right? So they stood up for themselves against the whole might of the British. And you're talking about the Royal Navy, a massive army, and plenty of mercenaries as well, right? And they still stood up and they won because it was an extended war, a bit like what's going on with Iran at the moment. It's not a good idea to do things like that because any form of extended war, the logistic, everyone should understand if you know anything about military strategy. Getting a group of people and putting a gun in their hand and pointing them in the direction of the enemy is one thing. Having 200 million people in that army, feeding them, supplying them with weapons, ammunition, medical treatment, etc., is part of the logistics of war, right? The logistics of war is just as important, if not more important. In fact, if I was ever going to go to war with anyone, I would be looking at their logistics first and foremost. In other words, could they keep fighting? And can we destroy their logistics to keep an army on the move and keep fighting, etc. So it's really important that people understand that a number of these cases that are going through the Supreme Court at the moment are extremely important to England. Why? Because a lot of these cases rely on English law. They're using English law. They're using the common law of England. They're using particular cases, and one in particular is to do with the right to keep and bear arms, and a guy called Sir John Knight, who was someone, one, he was Protestant, two, he was armed, and in Bristol he walked into a church with a pair of his firearms, and they arrested him and said that he was brandishing and causing fear amongst the congregation, and he said, I wasn't doing that at all. I have the right to keep and bear arms, and that's exactly what I was doing, right? So it went to the High Court, and the High Court in England said he wasn't brandishing those firearms, and he does have the right to keep and bear arms. That exact case is being used in the United States of America. Again, the United States of America, and just to make sure you're aware, that book from Anson book, right, even though it come from Oxford, I couldn't get copies in England. It come from California. I bought all 3 volumes from California, right? So in the United States of America, they have honoured the English Constitution. I want to make sure I say this to everyone, that no one anywhere, right, anyone who says that we are becoming Americanized by talking about the Constitution, etc., is completely wrong. We anglicised the United States of America. The United States of America is built upon an English system of law, the common law and the Constitution of England. And then people stood up for that and will carry on standing up for it and will not allow anyone to take their freedoms, right? We've lost that because we was under the cosh of the very people that was coshing them in 1776, except the British are on home turf. The British ruling classes, that includes the Scots, the Welsh, the Irish and the English. The British ruling classes and the people that come in from different places throughout Europe and are part of that British system. The British system and the British themselves are a minority. The majority are the English, right? And we've got to stand up and take back our country. Does everyone understand what I just said? Will not. Neil Russell, hi Neil, how you doing out there? Sapper 69, yeah, we are sovereign. We are sovereign. But did everyone see the first part of what I brought up? And I showed Anson's book on the law on the Constitution. That Anson himself said Parliament is not sovereign. Right? The Crown is not sovereign. In effect, the separation of power is sovereign and the Constitution is sovereign. Right? Not Parliament itself. It is not free to do as it wishes. Now, that was written in 1909. What happened from 1909 to now? I'll tell you what happened. We had a First World War, a Second World War, and we had an influx of people that I describe as communists and Marxists that were chipping away. The Fabian Society happened, right? And in chipping away, they do it so you don't notice what they're doing because you're nice, genuinely nice people. And you don't realise there are people with ill intent and an agenda. And the agenda is to completely control you, right? In 1948, so in 1933, the British abolished grand juries in England unlawfully. After the Second World War, they created the British Nationality Act of 1948 and erased our identities, exactly the same as Joseph Stalin did, and created British. Joseph Stalin created Soviet, and he removed the nationalities of all the people within the Soviet Union and said, this is your new jurisdiction, this is your new system, and we are a union, right? Exactly as the British have done. They got it from the British. The British pushed that situation on. There's a whole story why that happened, right? In 1948, they also top and tailed part of the English Bill of Rights. You've just heard from that reader, they was not allowed to touch it. They could not touch a single word of that law. That law is forever. They are our undoubted rights and no one is allowed to take them off you. It's in effect natural law. Cannot be removed, ever. That is the law of the land. So in 1948, there were two crucial elements. In 1858, there was another crucial element where they removed Chapter 3 or Section 3 of the English Bill of Rights. Again, they wasn't allowed to do it. What happened before that? And again, 1829, we created a law that basically said that if you bring a Jesuit into England in 1829, if you bring a Jesuit into England, you are committing treason. If you support a Jesuit in England, you are committing treason. Where did all this stuff disappear to? Where did it all go away to? Right? These people knew exactly what they was doing. Do you understand everything that I've just said? Right? This audience that I'm talking to now is far more intelligent than most of the audiences out there. Most of the audience is out there are looking at the woo-woo, and, want some magic wand, right? Unfortunately, and the Americans know this, to back up freedom of speech, you must have what they call the Second Amendment. That means if you're going to tell me to shut up and censor me, you will see the wrong end of my firearm, right? Unfortunately, that is the way of the world. That is the only real long-term way of keeping tyranny out of this country. We've allowed it to go on too long, right? So I'm just making sure everyone understands that this isn't, we're not moving into a civil war. This has been a gradual and continual process of the Fabian Society to remove every right you ever had as an Englishman, right? And I'm talking about the English. Make sure you understand I am talking about the English. Stop calling yourself British. You are not British. The British Nationality Act was put in place to remove every right your ancestors gave you. And by calling yourself British, right, you're accepting that you no longer have the rights of our ancestors. Stop doing that. Now what we're going to do is go on to another part. And I am hoping I can bring it straight up on your screen. If I can't, let's see if it comes up. Here it is. So before I do, I'm going to bring it over here. I am going to show you on the screen a particular tweet. I'm going to put it out there so everyone can see it. Do you all get what I've just said? Someone has just put a comment in there. Let me just put this on the screen because it's extremely important what this person has just said. Google are bulk buying old books, scanning them, and destroying the physical books. We are going to struggle to buy original law books eventually. You're absolutely right. That's exactly what they're doing. And they have destroyed hundreds of thousands so far, and they're going to do millions of original old law books. Because AI, when it started to scan some of this stuff in and go to separate websites, they breached copyright and they didn't want to pay. They'd already been fined something like just over $1 billion for breach of copyright. So what they did, and a judge decided in this is the case, they couldn't buy the book and then scan it. They had to buy the book and then destroy it, and that was fair use. And therefore, if they destroyed the books after, there was one particular book that I can mention. It was 500 years old, right? This book had survived on bookshelves for 500 years. And they guillotined the back off, scanned it, and then threw it in the bin. Recycled it, as they state, right? It's disgusting. So just to make sure, the person who's just put that in there is absolutely right. That's exactly what they're doing. And AI is extremely dangerous, right? Anyone who's checking stuff on AI, it will give you the wrong answer, the wrong answer, the wrong answer. It was programmed by statists, right? Remember that. And especially anything to do with Britain and the British. It is programmed by communists. And you need to be very careful with what is being said. So what I'm going to do now is show you something on the screen. And then hopefully, this is from the White House. Come on then. And now I'm going to drink my coffee because I want to ensure that Janet hasn't made me a cold cup of coffee again.
It's cold.
She's got a terrible habit, Janet. She's a lovely woman. I love her to bits. She's got a terrible habit of making me cold coffee, right? I've told her off a number of times about it. Why do you keep making me cold coffee, right? And she just looks at me strangely, right? So on your screen, you are seeing, hopefully I'm going to put it out there again. This is the White House, right? So this is not a lie. This is on Twitter. This is showing you what it says on Twitter. The truth, it says. This is from the White House itself, the truth, right? So what I'm going to do is click on that image, right? And hopefully it'll come up on your screen. I've just clicked on it. Oh, it's gone off the screen for some reason. Hopefully you can all see it again now. That's what I just clicked on, right? So it says lab leak, the true origins of COVID-19. And it tells you on there, so I'm going to blow this up on the screen so you can all, anyone who hasn't got access to this, I will see if I can put this out there as well. So if you ain't got access to Twitter and you absolutely want to go and see this, bearing in mind it's out there for anyone to go and see. I want everyone to note that the BBC has not mentioned anything about Anthony Fauci on the BBC News and the 111 Fifth Amendment plea. So in other words, remaining silent, right? Now, what I'm saying to people is you got an education yesterday by one of the most well-paid, protected legally people in the whole of the world. And what did he do? He remained silent, right? You got an education. I'm not suggesting that by remaining silent he's guilty, but he doesn't. He has the right not to incriminate himself, right? Because that's what the process is, and they was looking at going after him, right? And something else is happening. I don't know what it is, right? The proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by the public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. This is from the White House. 1. The virus possesses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. 2. Data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. Right, so I'm going to read that again. Data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. In other words, it didn't fit the profile of a pandemic. 3. Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, gene altering and organism supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels. My personal opinion is none of them are safe. Right? Doesn't matter what level it is. If it's capable of killing millions of people, you shouldn't be doing it. 4. Wuhan Institute of Virology, WIV, researchers were sick with COVID-like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. I can tell you, I was ill, very ill, well before that, right? 5, but nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. And then it shows you a picture of where, let me just make sure I get that down again. Right, so you understand where it is. There is the human seafood market on the top left of your screen. There is the Wuhan Institute of Virology just across at the river there. That's 7.5 miles. There's Wuhan. That's the lab. That's the fish, the meat market, as they said, right? All of that information's on there. Does everyone understand what I have just shown you? Right? Is the information is on your screen now, and it states lab leak. The origin. This was put out the day Anthony Fauci was being questioned by a committee at Congress 111 times. The person that was telling you that we should have lockdowns, that all these that shut down schools, that everyone must have the vaccine, etc. Even though it wasn't a vaccine, it was a gene editing therapeutic. That's what the actual manufacturers stated it was. It was not a vaccine, right? We've got the paperwork that states that. So what you saw yesterday was the person that everyone, and especially in this country and many other countries, shut down their schools. Many of the people died, and one of the other things that Anthony Fauci did was poo-pooed ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and many other natural elements to stop a virus, if you want to call it that, or a pathogen, or whatever this thing was, right? I'm not interested in getting into any of them arguments. The admissions are being made, but the person that the whole of the world was looking towards has just pleaded the fifth 111 times. So if you went to see your doctor tomorrow and he's advising you of X, Y, Z, and a week later, that same person, in relation to another person, right, is exercising his right to silence, would you think, ooh, that's a bit naughty? Why would he do that? Right? Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with exercising your right to remain silent, right? But someone who previously said, which he did, on video, I will go to any committee and answer any questions. Right? That's what he said. When they got him in front of that committee, he had the best lawyer in the world in relation to Fifth Amendment, and if you're basically in trouble and you've got money, that's the guy you go to, right? The best of the best legally. Bit like you lot coming to me for constitutional issues, right? I'm only joking, by the way, but I'm not joking really, because I'm a paralegal. I'm the only person who does it. Because none of our lawyers, none of our solicitors are taught any of this. So what I'm saying is you all understand exactly what's been said. Now, the other thing for you to all understand about what's just gone on, first of all, there's been a lot of reference to Anthony Fauci's diaries. I want to tell you now that is a completely incorrect statement. They were not diaries. They were not personal diaries. They were federal systems where he was recording everything, and that's what they've got access to. They have not got access to his personal diaries. They're saying these things. That's not the case. And in the United States of America, under Freedom of Information and other, right, you are allowed to if there's a case against this, they have to produce that information and give it to you, right? Most importantly, Anthony Fauci took a jab, and within a week or so, he had pulmonary falciparum. In other words, he had a blood clot in the lung. It nearly killed him. Yet he was telling everyone that the jabs were safe. So this nearly killed Anthony Fauci. He kept that from the American people. He kept that from the rest of the world and did not tell anyone once he had taken that particular jab, right? that he had a serious problem with a blood clot in the lung that very nearly killed him. The difference between him and you and your family members is we end up dying at home from the same condition, where we couldn't get an ambulance, where we didn't have the same quality of doctors. He went to one of the best hospitals in the United States of America, was treated at the highest level by the best and most proficient doctors in the world, right? That was all cooing over him. They could not let him die, right? And that person then went after that and lied to people and said there's absolutely no secondary ill health effects from having the jab. Do you all understand what I just said? Because that is something that's really important, and that has been put out by, and I'm hoping I can bring it up on the screen for you. If I can bring it up, I will bring it up. Let me see if I can find it again. Not that one. There is one here, and there's someone else that I wanted to wish luck to. Oh, is that the one? I'm going to read this out to you and send it out to you as well, right? So this is the one. Copy. I'm going to put this on this one and put it out there. Let's paste that into. Hopefully I will bring this up. Let me go back to my screen just so you know that I am. Everything I tell you is what I've seen on Twitter. I know a lot of people haven't got Twitter, so I'm sending this information out to you. What's that? I've accidentally highlighted that. What I'm going to do now is show you something else on the screen as we speak. There it is, right? RFK Jr. reveals the single most disturbing thing he discovered in Anthony Fauci's diaries. They weren't Anthony Fauci's diaries. They were, it was federal computer systems and journals, right, that everyone was entitled to see. And they tried to hide it all. In fact, they got rid of a load of it, right? This is peak hypocrisy, no other way to put it, right? Kennedy, one of the things was what that was new to me in his diary was his admission that he got a pulmonary infarction in July of 2021 after receiving the vaccine. So he took the Moderna vaccine on TV to show people it was safe, and then he got one of the primary most expected adverse effects, which was potentially deadly blood clots in his lungs. Myocardial infarction. He kept that secret from the American public, and we only learned about it because of the diary. It wasn't a diary, by the way. It was a formal record, federal record. He was keeping the best medical treatment that is available. He was getting the best medical treatment that is available to everyone in the world at Walter Reed and all these other centres. There were doctors fawning over him. Meanwhile, he was telling other people to take this product and concealing the fact that he himself, after announcing this press conference to show it was safe, had actually gotten very, very sick from an injury that was highly expected and highly likely to be caused by the vaccine, right? And if you want to see that,
one of the things that was new to me in his diary was his admission that he got a pulmonary infarction in July of 2021 after receiving the vaccine. So he took the Moderna vaccine on national TV, telling in a very, very highly publicized press conference to show people that it was safe. Then he got one of the primary, most expected adverse events, which was potentially deadly blood clots in his lung, myocardial infarction. He kept that secret from the American public, and we only learned about it because of his diary. He was getting the best medical treatment that is available to anybody in the world at Walter Reed and all these other centers. There were doctors fawning over him. Meanwhile, he was telling other people to take this product and concealing the fact that he himself, after announcing this press conference to show it was safe, had actually gotten very, very sick from an injury that was highly expected and highly likely to be caused by the vaccine.
So what I'm doing is asking you, did you all hear that, by the way? Was that clear enough for you? Ready late tonight, watch on Cat Up, Lottie Collie, hello, Sean Tyler, time for the bed, good night all, good night, and I will be going shortly anyway. Sean Tyler, sleep well buddy, Tim Brook too, Neil Russell, they must hang at Tyburn, no drop. Chuck Money 5B5. So is everyone understanding exactly what's gone on there, right? Now I want you also to remember that none of the British media, in terms of the BBC, that put this out, that put the little things up, how many people were dying. Don't forget that 93-year-old that was beaten by the police, tasered and gassed, who had one leg, in a wheelchair, in a care home, right? We was told that he did not die of his injuries. He died in hospital of COVID. Right. So remember what's gone on in the background. Let's have a look. Right. Does everyone right? So give me your opinion on the readout when we first started this. Do you understand that Anson is mentioned in all these? Anson meaning that the book I read out from that says that Parliament is not sovereign. You understand that Parliament is not sovereign. Do you understand that the Crown, if the Crown assents to an Act of Parliament, right, that takes away any of your rights or impeaches the rights that given to you in the English Bill of Rights and the Declaration, it goes against the Coronation Oath Act, and therefore he's perjured his oath, and therefore by deed, right, he has abdicated. Just want to know if everyone understands that. So again, the readout itself, this video is very important, and then we've gone over to this and I've shown you what the White House has said, one of these people on. So none of what I talk about is everything I talk about the Constitution, everything I talk about the law, is all brought to you from what I've read. Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure in terms of this particular person, let's see if I can pick him up again, but I can't pick him up. Someone out there, let's have a look and see if I can go back and find him. There's a certain individual, his name is Atherton, I believe. He ain't coming up on my screen now, I do apologise. I think it's David Atherton. He's the guy who comes from Essex. He has got prostate cancer and he's in hospital having some sort of operation. But just to let you know, so I wanted to wish him luck with that. Obviously, how do we go seemingly from cows destroying the planet to letting build data centers everywhere? So again, there's another one here. I'm going to put this there. This is from Andrew Bridgeton. How did we go seamlessly from cows destroying the planet to let's build data centers everywhere? And where was the debate in Parliament on either? How did we go from that? It's unbelievable. Did you all know that the second, I've told you this before, the second largest data center in Europe is now planned to be built in Devon on an 800-acre site. I had a number of people contacting me about it. It's absolutely disgusting. But again, people, especially in Devon, seem to just want to allow it to happen. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. That's it. I'm going to say good night, God bless to everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this show. It is being kept as a not a 1 hour show. I want everyone to try and share it. Don't forget, if you're watching on catch up or you're watching tonight, if you're watching on YouTube, come across, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on particularly on Rumble. Rumble is a free speech platform. And we moderate, and you're told to moderate to make sure you keep certain things off there that I won't go into detail, but they won't never shut us down, and that's why it's so important. We've got to rebuild this channel. We are only a couple of hundred away now from being just we will be 10,000 subscribers on Rumble. It is the place to be if you want to be talking and understanding anything. It also is a direct link with Starlink, so the system can't be shut down. If you really want to understand, at some stage, something is going to happen where you're going to need to be on this platform, and I suggest, and it is only a suggestion, that you come over to Rumble, subscribe to this channel, because all you're going to get from this channel is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's it. I wish you all the very best. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep sharing, subscribe, and like. Right? But get this message out to everyone. If Andy the Gabby Cabby is watching this, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you understand what I've just read out earlier. I know that you will. But we are building a profile which is going to be put into the High Court where the English start demanding. These are our rights. You have no right to take them away. You never did have, right? And that is one way we're going to take back this country. But I'm not suggesting to you people that this isn't going to be difficult. Of course it is. We are under occupation, but we have rights. That's it. Good night. God bless. Don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution.